Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Apptimize and User Testing Joint Webinar. Today, we're going to talk about how to start increasing your app usability in just 5 days. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves first. So I'm Kendrick Wang. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Apptimize.com, and we're here with Mike from User Testing.
Hey, Kendrick. Thanks for having me here. So I'm Michael Mace. I'm VP of Mobile at User Testing, and I'm really looking forward to showing folks how they can use our two services and tools together to make applications better, faster, and more successful.
Sounds exciting. All right, so let's get started with the agenda. So today, you're going to learn how to quickly identify usability problems in your app, get qualitative and quantitative data before deploying to all your users, and release a validated change. Ready? So let's get started. So this is kind of a typical development process. First, you have an idea, you might prototype it, create it, functional test it, and then deploy it through the App Store to get to all your users. And we have a few problems with that. Well, the first problem is that making changes is really slow on mobile. There's a 9-day average review time, and it's pretty scary to deploy to all your users. You don't know exactly how they're going to react. Unlike on web, you can't make quick changes, push it out to users, or roll it back if there's a bug or a problem. Once the release goes out, that's it. If you want to roll it back, you can't do that. Instead, you have to resubmit. And this whole time, it's going to affect all of your users. And that's a pretty scary thing. So the second problem is that learning is really expensive. Once you deploy to all your users, you're going to have to wait weeks for feedback. And this whole time, it can be affecting all your users. And unfortunately, bad reviews linger. So if there's something wrong with your app, it could cost you engagement, retention, and even downloads. So what we want to do is make sure that you learn before you deploy to all your users. And that's where testing comes in. So Apptimize is going to help give you the quantitative data, while user testing is going to help you get the qualitative data.
You know, I think it's good to emphasize here because we're saying the word testing, and what I find a lot of times when I'm talking with developers is even when they just hear the word testing, they tend to immediately think, oh yeah, bug testing. I do that after development, and that's so I already know how to do bug testing. So why are you people bothering me about testing? And I don't know, maybe we need a different word because this is a totally different type of testing. You do it at a different point in the development process, and it's really with a different set of goals. So and if anybody in the audience is sitting there thinking, oh, well, wait a minute, I don't want to hear about more testing stuff, it's really, really different from the stuff that you're used to.
That's exactly right. So why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about Apptimize first. So what Apptimize does is prioritize learning to iterate intelligently. So when you release a change, sometimes it's really hard to tell exactly what's going on with your users. What are they responding well to? What aren't they responding well to? And there's a lot of confounding factors. So what Apptimize helps you do is isolate those changes and figure out a direct cause and effect relationship. So we do a few things. One thing is A/B testing, which allows you to measure the actual impact on user behavior and validate on a small scale before deploying to all your users. That way, you're not affecting your entire user base with any of your changes before they're tested. The second thing we allow you to do is instant update. So instant update, you can actually instantly update any UI element in your app without having to redeploy to the App Store. So this can include things such as copy, icon, hiding elements, positioning, size, and so on. And the third thing we do is allow you to do feature flagging. So feature flagging helps you do a staged rollout and slowly push it out to more and more users, or even roll back a change on mobile if you need to. And that's a huge deal when you're working with the App Store, which is much less flexible. So Mike, could you tell us a little bit about what user testing does?
Sure. So we are a way to get really fast feedback from normal users on your app. So we started about 8 years ago on the web. And so it was a way to get feedback on websites. We started working on apps a couple of years ago, and we've now got a really mature solution for doing that stuff. So the way it works is that you come to our site, you define the tasks that you want people to perform, the questions you want them to answer, and the demographics that you want to go for. we deploy that out to people who match your demographics, and we record them as they use your app and as they do those tasks. So you get video, you get audio, you get tasks, taps and swipes animated in on the screen, and basically you can see exactly what a normal user is doing with your stuff. And you get those results back very, very, pardon me, very, very quickly. So it can be as little as an hour to when you get the video back. So you can do a new build of your app in the morning, deploy it out over lunchtime, come back from lunch, and you're already getting videos back.
Wow.
So that lets you get user feedback within a sprint. It makes it very easy to incorporate user feedback without having to do a whole bunch of scheduling of, oh, we're going to bring people into a usability lab or something like that. You can test all sorts of different things. It can be prototypes. It could be unreleased apps before they hit the store. It could be after release. And you can also do video recording of real-world experiences. And there's also lots of advanced research services that we provide. But basically, think of us as a fast way to get feedback.
Cool.
So, this is the obligatory wall of icons and all that sort of stuff. The big thing to understand is it's a really big group of respondents who are available. We're running lots of tests every week, and it's a really streamlined process.
I see, I see.
So the best way to kind of explain it to people is actually to just show you a video of what it looks like when you get these results. So what we've got here is excerpts from actual user tests. These are ones we ran as opposed to ones that our clients did. And we just wanted to show you what the results from some of the tests look like. So let's run it and people can see.
All right, I'm excited.
These aren't really going to be like, for necessarily like for running. I just kind of want something cute.
If I actually went to the menu, I can see there's quite a lot of stuff that I haven't been able to navigate to. So, but some of these don't work.
So there's blue dots, that's where somebody tapped.
Cool. I can crop them. That's kind of nice. Can I change the size? Yes, I can.
The graphics are intriguing, so I like that. What I didn't like was it's trying to pull me into the application before I even get some information about it.
Might be nice if it was a swipe interface like this that would sort of step between them.
And this button I thought was the power button, because if you look at this button on the side, it looks like the power button on any other iOS device.
Alright, I've passed the people. So here I am, walking up towards the enemy portal. It looks like it matches the picture to me.
So you get the idea. So you can do apps, you can do prototypes, you can even get interactions between what your app is doing and what's happening in the real world by turning on the video camera on the device.
Yeah, that's really great because sometimes with analytics, you can't see everything that's going on with your app. You might be able to see what's happening, but I think user testing really gives this unique quality of being able to tell the why things are happening and how users are actually responding to your app.
Yeah, it's kind of like a right brain, left brain thing. And
Yeah.
so by combining them together, you get a much more complete view of what's happening with the users. And the big advantage is then you can make better decisions about what you need to change. You're not fumbling around in the dark so much. You can more quickly decide, oh, this is what the real problem is. Let me just go address this, and you'll do a better quality fix that's more likely to be successful on the first try.
Yeah, and the better you understand your users, the better you can build features that they love.
Yep.
So let's look again at the typical development process. And this is how user testing and Apptimize fit into the process. You'll see that there are a lot of different checks where you can go back and fix anything that might not have tested well with your users. So let's take, for example, prototyping. You want to talk more about that, Mike?
Sure. So, one of the nice things about the way we've set it up on user testing is that we can test anything you can display on the device's screen. So, if you want to do a sketch or something like that, or if you're using one of the prototyping tools, we can display that through HTML, and we can test websites. So we just do that as a website test, and we go ahead and display that stuff, and we let people react to it. The whole idea is, I think with both of our companies, is to learn as much as you can as quickly as possible either before you've locked it in stone or to be able to quickly respond after you find that there's a problem. So, you know, the traditional way of developing mobile apps has been almost like launching a movie. You work for a huge long period of time, you put a lot of effort in, you throw it out in the market, and you either live or die in the first weekend.
Yeah.
And you're done. You know, it's either a hit or you're pretty much finished. And that sucks as a lifestyle for an app developer. I mean, it's kind of exciting, but it's a lousy way to be working your heart and soul, and then you miss out because of something that you just didn't realize was going on. And so I think between us, we can really help companies improve that lifestyle and improve their odds of success.
Yeah. And so you really just want to find out before you deploy to users, like Michael said. And, well, we want to really use agile methodologies instead of going back to those days where we're kind of blindly pushing stuff out and hoping it'll connect. So let's take a real-life example. So let's say I created the app Slickdeals. One thing I might notice is in my analytics, maybe people aren't using a few of the other features that I want them to use because they're not displayed on the front page. So let's say like local deals or popular deals or so on. What I might notice is that in my analytics, people aren't using this. And so I would try conducting some usability tests to figure out why that is.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we might find in a usability test is that people aren't clicking on a hamburger menu. And we will really want to dig deeper into that. So one of the ways that we can do this is, like we said, looking through analytics and conducting usability or user tests. We really want to identify the low-hanging fruit, the stuff that is really going to have a good ROI. So we know from a lot of different tests and a lot of different articles online that hamburger menus aren't really the most effective way to display information. So what you want to do is figure out different alternatives that you can use to display your information. On the left, we have a floating hamburger menu. Center, we have a tab menu. And even just a simple icon change that has text under it.
Yeah, and you know, this is something we found in doing a lot of user tests is you'll do icon designs that seem completely intuitive to the development team because you guys are hanging out with each other all the time, right? You know, and
Yeah.
so of course they're going to understand what a six-pointed star means, you know, or you know, whatever. The reality is, it is amazing how easily users get themselves completely confused. And you know, it's ugly. It's less beautiful. It's less aesthetically pleasing to put the word underneath the menu. But say it's 10% of your users who are being confused.
Yeah.
What would you do to improve your conversion rate by 10%? You know, and it's a simple, easy change to do. And it doesn't always have to be the text underneath it. There may be other changes. But what we found in a lot of cases is companies try to shoot for a beautiful app first, and they try to make it usable afterwards. It's a lot better to shoot for making it usable first, and then once it's really, really usable, then try to make it prettier.
Yeah.
Because after all, what you're really after is not creating a work of art. For most of us, it's creating something that people actually use.
Definitely. So what you can do from here is use the user data that you have and other industry best practices and create a hypothesis. You want to figure out what other people have done and use this to create an MVP. So there's a few ways you can do this really easily and cheaply. So the first way is actually to just sketch a design. Or alternatively, Apptimize provides a visual editor where you can quickly manipulate UI elements in your app. So here's a really ugly prototype that I sketched out in a couple minutes with a few different options for menus on Slickdeals. Mike, is this actually something I could use on user testing, though?
Yeah, you could. Basically, anything you can take a picture of or scan or anything like that, we can display. You know, you just host it through HTML, and you direct the test to that HTML location, and you can talk to people about, okay, here's the potential drawing of what the home page would look like, and you can ask questions like, tell me what these buttons mean to you, or where would you tend to tap first if you were looking at it, or even simple things like, can you tell me what this app is about just by looking at this image?
Yeah.
So it helps you kind of pry into the mind of the user and understand what they're going to be thinking when they're using your stuff. And so you can start with simple sketches like this if you want to. You can then go to more refined prototypes, and basically go to whatever level of detail that you want to. But as much as possible, try to learn what the users are going to think before you spend a huge amount of time coding.
Yeah.
Because if you have to go back and recode stuff later, that's a horrible pain in the neck. And so I think for both of us, it's avoiding that sort of, oh my God, I have to go back and re-architect surprise at the end of development.
Yeah. So user testing helps you get really qualitative feedback within a few hours and early on in the process. So this is where A/B testing comes in. Once you've tested with user testing, you kind of want to try and see how it affects your actual users. So what you can do is deploy to a small group, and you can do this in a few ways. So the first way is to deploy to a small group through using instant update, and using this you can actually push out any change and test it before submitting to the App Store. So this is a really easy way to validate a different change and see how it performs on real users, and you get quantitative data that shows you how users are actually behaving in your app. The second way, if you're doing a more complicated change, you can actually deploy it through the App Store, and then before pushing out to every one of your users, because that's one of the scariest parts, you're actually able to roll it out just to a few users and see how that variant performs versus your current state of your app. And again, this gives you quantitative data and shows you, okay, this is working or isn't working, and it allows you to make changes before pushing out to your entire user base.
And this is a good point to talk about the difference between what you can learn from qualitative and quantitative data. So user testing will help you cull out some of the worst ideas.
Yeah.
And it'll help you understand how people are thinking. But it's really not good for picking between two options that look pretty good, which one is going to be the best? What's going to be the most optimized?
Yeah.
Because it's not numerical data that you're getting. You run a user test on maybe 10 or 15 people, which 10 or 15 videos to watch is a fair amount of video. You don't want to do 100 of these things in one shot. So that'll give you a good idea of, man, these 3 ideas completely suck, but these other 2 ideas are really good, but we're not sure which one's really going to be the winner.
Yeah.
So you can focus your A/B test on the stuff that you know are most likely to win, and then you can find the perfect one out of that. And that's what I like. If you get it working right, there's this rhythm between the qualitative and the quantitative where you can go back and forth and they feed off of each other.
All right. So the next step is to interpret results. And if you see that a change performed well on both user testing and A/B testing, you can actually do a staged rollout or one-click deploy with Apptimize. So in a staged rollout, you can slowly roll it out to more and more users, making sure it's having the effects that you want, or you could just deploy it with one click to your entire user base. So if it turns out that there is something wrong, you can always roll it back with feature flagging, and that's what's really great. With the typical App Store, you'd have to resubmit and wait for either expedited or normal review process, which can take a long time. Excuse me. So with Apptimize, you're able to use feature flags to roll back things instantly so they're not affecting your users. All right, so why don't we summarize everything we learned so far? So the first is that there are 2 big problems when developing on mobile. The first is that making changes is really slow. And the second is that learning is really expensive. So you want to use testing to learn before you deploy to all your users and affect them. So user testing is going to give you the qualitative, and Apptimize is going to give you the quantitative data. And this is really going to help you validate your changes and push out things that are really going to affect your users in a positive way.
Yep. And I want to emphasize, this is, if you add all this stuff together, it's a really big change in the way development is done.
Yeah.
It's if you look back at the history of the web, when the web first started, it was all about the artistic vision of the web designers. You think of like the Webby Awards.
Yeah.
And those were always given out to the sites that everybody thought was the most beautiful and the most well thought out. But it was just kind of the community aesthetically rating things. And eventually the web world figured out, you know what? We can actually do better than that. It's not that artistry is bad, but by using analytics and by using this sort of qualitative feedback, we could actually do a much better job of really optimizing things. And app development for a lot of companies is still stuck in the visionary crafting world as opposed to the scientific design and how do we make sure that we've really optimized this stuff properly.
Yeah.
And this is just the better, more modern way to develop apps. and it allows companies to be a lot more efficient and to get great apps out there a lot faster and with better odds of success.
Yeah.
And that's what really gets me excited about it.
Great. All right, so now we have some question times. But before that, if you'd like to move forward, you can actually get a demo on your specific app at Apptimize.com. All you have to do is go to the site and sign up for a demo. And user testing also has this really great deal for us.
Yep. So what you do is you can go to our site and sign up for free as a to just have to be registered with us. Then you can go ahead and design a test, and at checkout time you put in that code Apptimize 101. That will give you 3 free tests. So set it up as a test for 3 tests. So that's 3 sessions, 3 respondents that you're asking for, 3 videos, and use that at checkout. That'll make your tests free, so you can try us out with no risk at all and see what sort of feedback you get on your app.
Sounds great. All right, so we have one question. All right, I'll just go ahead and read it. So how do you actually get started doing user testing?
Yeah, so you can just come to our site, and there are tutorials and other information on how to use it and such. But basically, you come to our site, and once you've registered, you can then just click a button to set up a test. It's all template-driven. If you've ever used something like SurveyMonkey for making numerical surveys on the web, it's kind of similar to that process. We'll walk you through, hey, you're testing a website or an app. What platform do you want to test it on? Is it iOS, Android? Do you want to do tablet or smartphone? What demographics do you want to use in your test? You know, like sex and age and all sorts of other stuff like that. And then you just start defining tasks. You know, I want you to do task 1, do this. Task 2, I want you to answer this question. It can be numerical questions, like a rating question. How simple was it to do that on a 1 to 10 scale or something like that? It can also be written response questions, or you can just tell them, hey, I want you to talk to me about this for a minute. Tell me what you were thinking when you were doing this. If you're doing a test on a smartphone, I really encourage you to do verbal response questions instead of typed ones, because there's nothing worse than watching somebody gradually type on a smartphone keyboard. Because what they'll always do is they say their answer first, and then they type it 1 letter at a time, and you're just going, oh, please. So, but anyway, it's real easy to set up, you know, and then you just, when you're done, you deploy it, and you get the videos back.
I see.
And the other thing I should add, if the video doesn't work out right, if, you know, occasionally you'll get a tester who doesn't do that good a job, or maybe there was a problem with the test where it didn't work right, just let us know. We'll rerun it for you after you fix it.
Sounds great. And who are kind of like the demographics in these testing groups?
Yeah, it's fairly normal people. I mean, obviously you have to be a little bit technologically skilled just in order to sign up for any sort of online service. But we recruit really heavily out to places where normal people hang out. So it's like work at home boards, part-time work, stuff like that. We also limit the number of tests that anybody can take, so nobody gets to turn into a professional tester. And so it's really, as much as we can, normal people who are just doing a little bit of this on the side because they want to make a little bit of money. They get paid $10 per test. So it's a way for, oh, okay, I got a little bit of downtime at home, or, you know, I'm taking a break at work. Let me go do a user test for a few minutes. So really broad demographics, and if you're ever trying to find a type of person that we don't happen to have in the group, we can just go out and recruit it for you. It takes a little bit longer, so you're not going to get a 1-hour turnaround time if we have to do that. But we can do all that sort of stuff. And, you know, if you then advance to the point where you want the test designed for you, you want us to watch the video, special methodologies, other things like that. Like sometimes companies want to do like, oh, I want to see my app used in a store. Say I've done a shopping app. You know, I want to see somebody shopping in a store, and then be able to switch between video of them shopping in a grocery store and then using the app to try to look up prices or something like that. We can set up that sort of stuff as well. Again, it won't be an hour turnaround time because we have to recruit somebody you know, off our panel who's willing to go to the store and stuff. So typically those might be a week and a half, something like that.
I see.
But previously, if you wanted to do that, it would have been, oh, let's go hire a film crew to follow someone through a store, and it's like a month, and then you wait for the videos to get edited, and it's unbelievably expensive as well. So the overall theme is we can make the whole process a lot easier for you and a lot
quicker. Okay, so we have someone asking about how the Apptimize platform works. Well, Well, I'll talk a little bit about Instant Update first. So with Instant Update, we're able to change any UI elements without coding. And so we have a visual editor that's able to do that. All you have to do is install our SDK and deploy it to the App Store. After that, we can actually make any UI change to your app, and we can push out those changes to users without having to redeploy. And that's a really big deal because you're able to do things really quickly and really fast. And you don't have to, go spend engineering resources and ask them, oh, can you just make this quick, I don't know, icon change or text change for me? Instead, you're able to do that on your own. It's really easy.
Cool. So you get the marketing people and the product managers off the backs of the engineering, and they can focus on the next version of the app without doing all the little tweaks.
Yeah, and anyone can do it. That's the best part. Like with the visual editor, it's just drag and drop and a few different buttons to click.
That's very cool. So basically, we've probably got some people from the user testing side who've come into this and aren't as familiar with your tool. So you just link the SDK, and then you guys take care of it. Inserts all the hooks so that you can change out graphics and stuff like that.
Yep.
Also change panel layouts and that sort of stuff as well.
Yes.
Wow, so it's really cool. So I presume I can't insert an entirely new code base into the app, right? Because Apple would get torqued about that.
Yeah, and that's where our other solution comes in, which is full A/B testing. So you're actually able to test anything you can code. And what's really great is that you can test anything. Like if you want to do an entire new feature, you can test how that performs versus your current app and see, okay, users are responding well to this or not responding well to this. For that, you actually have to redeploy your app to the App Store with the new code, but you're able to do a staged rollout to just a small percentage to make sure not to affect or alienate any of your users. And once you get that data back, you can decide whether to just push it out directly to all your users without having to do anything except a simple click of the mouse, or you can just roll it back and be like, hey, we kind of need to tweak this first, let's figure it out.
Yeah. So say in your user testing stuff, you found out, well, maybe there are two really different approaches for a feature. You could code up both approaches to it, put it into the app, and then use Apptimize to be able to do tests and switch between them, and you can get the good data on exactly which one works.
Exactly.
That's
and
cool.
you can even target it very specifically too. So if you want to target users in Japan who are using English language on Lollipop, whatever version, you can get very granular with it as well. So you can test for very specific things.
Nice.
Okay, I think that's all for today. If you have any more questions, you can go ahead and email us at contact@apptimize.com
or you can just email me directly. I'm Mike, M-I-K-E, @usertesting.com. If you got any questions or comments or anything like that, feedback, would love to hear from you. So just Mike @usertesting.com.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks.